Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the PVD Horror Podcast. My name is Dave. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon, and we have two special guests today. We have Matt Angel and Suzanne. I'm so sorry. I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name before we get on.
Suzanne Coote.
Suzanne Coote. All right. I'm not going to retake. I'm just going to go with it. All right.
Yeah, go with it.
They are the writers, directors of the new film, The Wrath of Becky, and Matt also has a role in The Wrath of Becky. So thank you guys for both for joining us. And I just also will note that this movie is going to be coming exclusively to theaters on May 26th. So that's very exciting. And this interview will be dropping right around that time. So guys, thank you again both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Oh, we appreciate it. So you both in 2017 partnered and wrote, produced, and directed the film The Open House. That was acquired by Netflix and quickly became the studio's most watched thriller. How has it been being co-directors and working on projects together?
Awful.
Yeah, it sounds like the worst.
I mean, that's the only thing we can agree on.
That's my go-to answer when people ask that question.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny.
It's so funny.
Well, now I'm not gonna be like, it's great.
Okay,
now you have to say it's great.
So we're partners in life and work and crime. We haven't done that yet, but you never know. No, we're married. We have a baby who's currently crying upstairs. It's great. He's fine. I'm kidding. He fell asleep. And basically the way we started working together is we have very well, we're both just film nerds, lovers. It's our life. It's we eat. What do you say? Eat and breathe film. I don't know. You get it. Get through it. And so I think it's the first thing we ever bonded over. We were both working in the industry when we met. I was writing at the time. Suzanne was working in development. And a few years into our relationship, we were living together. And we were like, let's make something. Let's just make something. Let's figure it out. Let's ask every friend and family member we can to help us. Let's ask every crew and cast we know to help us. Let's open way too many credit cards and go into debt. And that's what we did. And so we'd come home from our day jobs and write. And the open house was born of basically a fear I always had as a kid when we were selling my childhood home, which was why doesn't a serial killer take advantage of this? I don't quite understand how that hasn't happened. It's served up on a silver platter. So I would check every nook and cranny when we'd get home from open houses to see if anyone had hung out. And Suzanne had actually just lost her father. And there was just kind of this fascinating idea for us of what if we made a super low budget horror film that was very inspired by Michael Haneke, foreign films that explored the effects of death moving in on our lives. And I think we just kind of fused my fear with the tragedy of her father's passing.
Yeah.
And it was probably a big risk writing together because we could have just destroyed our relationship, but we didn't.
We didn't.
And then we both ultimately wanted to be directors. That was our dreams. So we were like, what if we test this relationship even further and just push it to the max and direct this thing? And we did that, and it worked. We talked about this a little bit recently on another podcast. We actually went to couples therapy before we ever stepped on set of the open house so that we could kind of explore situations that might arise and how we could make sure we protected our relationship.
That was smart.
Yeah. So that's something we did. And I think it was instrumental in the success we've had as co-workers in this industry, because we know how to,
we got tools, man.
We got tools.
Yeah.
We filled the toolbox with a lot of things that could help us in stressful situations.
It's funny to think that you guys did this project together. You probably were attached at the hip and all right, well, after this is done, we can things can go back to normal, get a little of this space. And then the pandemic happened. And then you guys back to
the pandemic is normal for us. We were
yeah.
I'm gonna kill my spouse. I'm gonna kill him all the time anyway.
No, I mean,
together.
When we were delivering to Netflix, so yeah, so it was a wonderful experience. It worked. I think a big part of why it worked is a mutual respect for each other, as well as very, very similar sensibilities when it comes to our love for film and what we teach each other. She came from a very like classic background in film in terms of the film she loved and was raised on, and like the AFI list of 100 films that I am a complete fucking slacker on when we met and hadn't seen enough of. And she had like never seen anything post 1980. And I was like, you're a loser. Like you have got to watch some pop culture.
Yeah, it was bad.
Can you guys each like think of an example of like sort of an embarrassing like a film that you hadn't seen that's sort of embarrassing that to admit?
Oh yeah, wait. I mean, I hadn't seen a single Mission Impossible. And then Matt showed me.
Hold on, I'll go more embarrassing. She hadn't seen Goonies. Like,
okay.
Whatever.
That's more embarrassing.
Whatever.
I mean, Matt hadn't seen.
Just pick one. Don't make this worse than it needs to be.
I mean, I met him and he hadn't seen fucking Psycho.
Oh,
That's worse than the Goonies.
Can we scrub that from the record?
Yeah, I keep going, by the way, but I'll stop just because.
Yeah, it's true. So I think we just have an incredible mutual respect for each other and what we've taught each other in film. But we then sold the film to Netflix as an acquisition, but they wanted to make it a Netflix original film. And we were very lucky. It was lightning in a bottle. Dylan Minnette is a dear friend. He starred in the film. He flew to Big Bear Mountain to shoot the open house the day he wrapped season 1 of 13 Reasons Why.
okay. Yeah.
And at the time, no one knew what 13 Reasons Why was going to be. We finished our rough cut on the open house the week 13 Reasons Why launched and became the biggest TV series Netflix had to date. So we took it straight to them. And because of Dylan's incredible success there with 13 Reasons Why, I think that greatly helped us. And they wanted to make it a Netflix original film. So here we have this little tiny film we hoped like a Lemley might show in New York City that we could get like a little write-up on.
We just needed we put $60,000. We just needed that money back.
Yeah. It was our wedding. It was like our wedding fund and then some. And
we were so poor.
Yeah.
And Matt got pulled over by a cop for speeding and he had $500. We had $500 in our bank account. And
I cried my way.
He cried his way out of the ticket. I was so attracted to him.
That is a true story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We had an 83-page, I'm just talking so much, I'm sorry. We had an 83-page delivery requirements document from Netflix. And this is shit like I'd never heard of. And we are our own post house sitting in our studio apartment with 7 hard drives. Like it was an incredible learning experience. And true like trenches when it comes to filmmaking. And I think it really paved the way for why we are still able to work together and love it so much. Yeah.
So, speaking of like learning experiences, so this was your first time creating a horror film when you did the open house, correct? Like your first feature horror film, at least. So I was just curious about how that experience like kind of impacted the future films you made. And I know the tone was so different in open house, but like, I'm sure there were things that you were probably able to like take from that and bring into, even the Wrath of Becky.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I've never even really thought about it that way just because I love horror films so much. And I love you can mix anything with horror comedy, horror thriller, horror action, horror, like you can kind of do anything with it. So, like, it's hard to like Becky is definitely it's a horror film in so much as it's horrific. These people are horrific that she's killing. But it's not scary, right? It's not a scary movie. So I think, I don't know. I don't know if I brought anything from open house to Wrath of Becky.
I think you pull little things like we're big fans of long shots.
Yeah, like dread
and like holding on things, big wide stuff like that. So I think some of our visual tendencies creep in every now and again. There's a scene where Becky's house is broken into in the Wrath of Becky, and it's it's little things like, oh, this is one of the rare opportunities we have in a film like the Wrath of Becky to have dread, right? It's a small moment, but it's like let's make it one shot following,
Yeah.
let's put the camera here and make it one shot and watch Becky move through the house, as opposed to finding cut points in that moment. That's a lot of what we did in something like The Open House, but it truly was a completely different film stylistically. And I think it's just speaks to like making sure we love so many different types of films. Like one day, God willing, we get to do a Fincher film, like stylistically, right? Where you are making a film about like Zodiac or Seven, or The Game is one of my favorite thrillers of all time. You know, I can't wait to do something like that. But at the same time, Edgar Wright is simultaneously one of my all-time favorite filmmakers.
We have a lot of, you know, I hope, speaking for myself, that my career goes in no particular direction. You know, I'd like to make a bunch of different kinds.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Susan, you graduated from the New School, which is in New York City, like a double degree in film and music. And they are known as like the place for fearless progress. How was your experience attending that school?
It's the best place.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Like, I mean, it's just very progressive, very progressive. And, you know, it was like the only place you could like major in jazz singing and filmmaking. Like, where else was that possible? And I just loved it. I mean, and the film school is very small, and it's very, you know, it's very experimental and indie, and I just loved it. It was, and your campus is New York City. Like, come on, you peak. You go there and you peak.
Yeah,
our house is full of like everything New York. I mean, she's a New Yorker at heart.
Yeah.
So.
And Matthew, you were able to start your career in acting at a young age. You had roles from CSI and doing like Disney and Nickelodeon roles. What pushed you to become a writer and director?
I really love every facet of the industry. You know, I love acting, writing, directing. I love being a part of the editing process as a director. I love getting things off the ground, which steps into producing territory. I think really I just love filmmaking. And that's the obvious answer, but I think it is an obvious answer. I love it so much, and there are so many different angles to it. And I reached a certain age where, you know, acting, you don't get to wake up and choose to go to work every day. To a certain extent, you have to be chosen, especially when it comes to film and TV, or even in certain communities, theater. You know, like there's only so much you can do when it comes to the work side of it. And you can read plays, you can study, you can go to classes, and I was doing all that, but I wanted more. And what you can do with writing is you can wake up every day and choose to work. And when you're working on a script, like, you're doing something that you're investing in. You're investing in your future.
You're in control.
You're in control of something. As someone who writes to direct, ideally, you're creating a vision that you can see in your head and that you want to bring to life and putting it on the page. So you feel like you're starting a big process that you're ultimately one day hopefully going to be behind the camera bringing to life. So I think it's just like hungry to do more. I felt like I was chomping at the bit when I wrote my first script when I was 18, 19, and then got my first thing going when I was 20. So it was kind of like, I was hungry for more.
Did you guys meet on a project, or did you meet separately and then just realize you both have film in common?
We met, I had graduated college and I went to go, my dad was a producer, Matt's dad was a producer, and they knew each other before Matt and I were born. And Matt wrote a script, his dad sent it to my dad, and when I graduated college, my dad was like, you're working for me for free. Here are a bunch of scripts I want you to read, and Matt's was one of them. And I was like, this is funny.
So she did coverage on a script that I had submitted, that I had written with a different writing partner. And when I went into the meeting, she sat in on that meeting as the assistant who had like done coverage on the script. And so we met, and I was smitten. And like 4 months later, we were dating.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys, was it kind of like immediate, like you both kind of sensed it and you stayed in contact?
Yeah, I think so.
Hold on,
Just say
let's
yes.
go down like half the rabbit hole here. 'Cause
No, let's not.
No, let's do it.
Let's definitely not.
This is like a really interesting part of your story, though. I know we're talking about the film, but like this is actually super like interesting.
It's like a romantic comedy. It really like an R-rated romantic like I like
Just
Judd,
say it.
I like
Just say
Judd
it.
Apatow
Get it
movies.
over with.
It's like a Judd
Get it
Apatow
over
movie. We walked out of that meeting, my writing partner at the time, and he was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe we just set up a project." And I was like, "I know. Did you see that girl like at the end of the table?" And he was like, he looked at me because he knew that she was Greg Coote's daughter, and he said, "Do not fuck this up." And he might have said something else, but it was like a version of that. How about that? And like 3 weeks later, I have no idea how to get a hold of her. I had gone through like a horrible breakup earlier that year, and I was just like, love is awful.
Yeah.
But she was the first person I was like, wait a minute. Like 3 weeks later, I get an email. Go ahead. You want to explain how this happened?
Yeah. Okay. So then he had just sold the show to Sony, a TV show. So he was like in the conference room, like hot shit. Like he had just sold a show. Now he's selling this movie script. And I'm here reading other people's scripts. Like I hate my life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you want to write your own scripts, it's kind of depressing. And I was, okay, so he leaves and I was like, hey dad, so I have this idea for a TV show. Do you know anyone like maybe exactly my age who like maybe just sold a show that like I could get like pick their brain? And my dad was like, you're not slick. Like you're embarrassing.
We have all these emails by the way saved.
Yeah. And I didn't have a TV show at all prepared. So my dad emails Matt and I was like, oh fuck. So I came up with this awful TV show. Like I do not say anything about it, Matt, because it's so bad. It was
I won't because you're my work partner.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the only reason. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, if you can see the pitch deck, it's like clip art. Okay. Like it is so bad.
But out of nowhere, I had this opportunity to hang out with this girl that I was like crushing on.
So we were both like, God, this project is amazing.
This project's amazing.
Let's work on it together. Wow.
Let's go to Starbucks and talk. I'm in. What can I do?
And then I think we talked about
I pretended like I had any like pull whatsoever in this industry.
And so we talked about it for like 10 minutes once.
No, that's not true. We were at our third business meeting, and by business meeting, I mean like hanging out at lunch and spending 5 minutes talking about the project, and the other like hour talking about like what's up. And she randomly was like, our third hangout, like, oh yeah, like it was weird the other day, my boyfriend. And I'm like, what? Like she's got a fucking
It was a business
boyfriend?
Relationship. There was no reason I should tell you I had a boyfriend.
You faked a pilot to hang out.
That's true.
So there was nothing business there. Anyway,
so there you go. That's it. End of story.
It goes on and on. It was like, it was truly a Judd Apatow comedy for the next.
It sounds like you guys have a script waiting to happen just from this.
It is. It's honestly, it gets.
This is your rom-com. Yeah.
The rom-com. See, and we don't want to ever be. We don't ever want to be life rights. I'm not giving. We don't ever want to be. I'll change your name. Boxed in. So, yeah, that's our rom-com one day. And 4 months later, though, it worked out, and we were dating, and we've been together 9.5 years now.
Wow,
that's good.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So Matthew, Robert Englund has a documentary that's going to be released in just a few days.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you worked with him back in like 2015 on the project The Funhouse. What was it like working with him?
He was amazing. I wish I would have had more time to get to hang out with him, but I went out of my way to go to the soundstage that they were shooting on when they were shooting the opening of that film, so that I could geek out and like look like, like I was just another actor in the film hanging out, and I had to come by to like check out Crafty, but I was not working that day, and like asked for a van so I could come meet Robert Englund. He was amazing. I mean, it's just great. Like I also got to work with Malcolm McDowell for a day on a little indie film called Mischief Night. And so you get to work with these like horror icons and pretend like you belong next to them. I don't know. It was It was wonderful. They're both, Malcolm McDowell and Robert Englund, are incredibly kind guys, gracious guys, and yeah, I'm lucky to have had the limited time I got to have with both of them.
Pretty cool.
I'm
gonna resist all my urges to ask you more intrusive questions about your relationship, and I will ask you guys if you want to give a summary about Wrath of Becky for our listeners.
Yeah, Matt,
want me to do it?
yeah, you do.
We-
We just did it, and I did it so terribly that
Can we hear both? Can we hear the terrible one too?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
always fun.
Okay, it's a movie about a 16-year-old girl running around killing Proud Boys. I don't know, I think that sounds
Good.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Spot on.
I want Proud Boys to see this movie, so I don't ever say that. I have this
Okay,
theory.
but
I have this theory
wait a
since
minute.
day one that like Proud
Women
Boys.
are always being murdered and shit, and it's not like I don't go see those movies.
That's true, but I have
So-
this theory. But they're, let's be honest, too. Look who
But
we're
they're
talking.
proud, so
They're
Yeah.
proud. That's true.
I have this theory that like some of the biggest fans of this movie are going to be Proud Boys.
It's such
and
a
they
dumb
won't-
theory.
and they won't even know what they're watching.
No, they're not that dumb.
Like, it was so cool, and that head blew up. I don't know if they talk like that, but I pitch it as an action comedy horror film about a revenge flick about a 16-year-old girl.
Running around killing Proud Boys.
See, I'm fucking this up now.
Mine's too good.
An action horror comedy in the vein of Tarantino and Edgar Wright, revenge flick.
Okay.
yeah.
Yours is like longer.
There's a lot of adjectives.
And more name dropping. I mean,
Yeah.
let's just go with killing Proud Boys for the sake of this.
There's name dropping, but I love them. So.
But I love it. Shameless, and it's excellent.
So the film had its world premiere at the 2023 South by Southwest Film Festival. What was that experience like?
A dream.
Wild.
Just a straight up dream. We had never, this is embarrassing, but we had never, actually, wait, I have been to film festivals before. Matt. As
That
a,
was my first film.
yeah,
festival.
in attendance even. So it was my first film festival as a director, but it was wild. I mean, this movie came together so last minute. Such a small budget, and
Yeah.
it's a sequel. Like, sequels don't get into festivals, especially
Yeah.
the first film didn't get into that festival that you got into. Like, it just doesn't happen. And part of our big creative goal was to have the Wrath of Becky stand on its own if you hadn't seen the first Becky, which is why we were adamant that you don't call it Becky 2 and have
Yeah.
its own title.
We didn't want to like.
Alienate potential new fans of the franchise. So yeah, I mean, South by was very shocking to us that we got into it, and we were very grateful.
I think the other thing is when you hear South by Southwest, you're talking like fun audience films.
Yeah.
Like I got to see John Wick 4 there.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the ultimate movie-going experience. By the way, I should tell an embarrassing story. I went pee in the middle of the movie.
Mm.
And Keanu Reeves was like in the lobby, and there were like 5 girls trying to get selfies with him, and then me.
Oh God,
Like,
that's embarrassing.
like I don't take selfies with
Also,
people.
he has to pee all the time. Like, it's concerning. You're only
I
32.
have a baby bladder, but it didn't. But we're talking about my embarrassing story.
Sorry.
So I pee a lot, and Keanu Reeves was there, and it turned into like a fan who got a ticket on like 102.7 Kiss FM or something, and was like, "Can I?" And he was like, "I'm so sorry, too many." And the security guard was like, "Too many," and I was like the last one, and got cut off. Like with my tail between my legs, as a filmmaker with a film at South by,
Oh,
crawl
please.
back into the theater.
It's your fault.
It was
He's
awful.
just trying to live his life, and you're like,
I know.
you were too many.
I don't know what
man.
happened
You
to
were
me.
too
I
many.
was so excited.
Did you have
by-
been more pushy, do you think? Were you kind of like, I know as a guy, like meeting another like male celebrity, sometimes I'm like kind of timid about it. Like I don't
I
want to
was-
seem too eager.
I was a complete baby.
You
Just
know what
like
you should have done, like like hanging out with Sean William Scott. You know, like people like to take pictures of him because he's Sean William Scott.
Yeah.
Just be talking, and what people will do is they'll just take a selfie of themselves with Sean in the back, but
Yeah.
they're like
Yeah.
2 feet in front of him. Like,
I-
you know
I
what
should
they're
have done. I should have.
Yeah.
done that. I should have.
he's
That would have been awesome.
just like, no, just let it happen.
Okay, but that's my embarrassing story. But no, I think to get into South by, like when you hear South by, you hear like audience films, crowd pleasers, that kind of thing. Our goal when we set out to make The Wrath of Becky was like, we wanted to make a fun crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
And if we could succeed in doing that, well, if we could do that, we had succeeded.
We could.
And so when you
We
get
could
into
do it.
South by Southwest, you're like, it was a moment of like, holy shit, we did it. I actually didn't. I don't know if we did it. We'll find out. I hope people like it.
Yeah,
But
we don't know.
someone thought we did it.
One person at least.
When we found out, when JD and Rafi from Boulder Light, the best producers, dear friends, and
Just
the true definition of producers, by the way,
Mhm.
good producers. When they called us to tell us we got into South by, I think it was like January, February. I don't remember what it was. I was in a bad mood for like an hour afterward.
He was
And
so.
Suzanne was like, "What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You just got into South by," and I think it was just so surreal. I don't know what happened. I think I went into like a cloud of like, I don't know how to.
It's imposter syndrome.
It was impossible.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's what it was. I didn't know what to do with my list.
Did
Meanwhile-
you get like this immediate like, what if we get there and we don't like our film doesn't belong there? Like, what if we get there and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
parents?
I didn't. Maybe I'm like a
I think
total
that's-
narcissist because I didn't feel that way at all. I was like, they were like, you got into stuff, and I was texting my mom.
Yeah, I go.
Like,
You're right,
constantly.
Dave. You're right. I go straight to South by in my head. The people see it, and people are like, "That film, Wrath
This
of Becky,
piece of
didn't
shit.
belong there," and that's where I go. And so I'm like, the pressure's on, is what it felt like.
Yeah, no, I get that feeling. I totally understand that.
Mhm.
And I think in the realm of what you guys are doing and like being there with other films, that's definitely a possibility for a reaction. I think some people would experience, but then other people would be more like Susan and be like,
Yeah.
I can't believe this. I got to contact everybody I know.
Yeah,
Um,
we're good. We're a good mix. I'll be like,
Yeah.
get shit together, bro. This was amazing news.
Yeah. I love that though, because that is like what you need when you're working in a team. Like you need
Yeah.
sometimes that balance, and sometimes it'll be vice versa. Like, even Brandon and I doing this, like sometimes when we're like, if I'm feeling down about like something, he'll be like, well, we just did this. So make sure you like,
Yeah.
so you just need that sometimes to like kind of
Yeah,
balance
and
out your head.
good.
How do you feel right now? How's this going?
Yeah, how's this going? Is it
I'm
Great.
feeling so about my performance. Brandon's nailing
I think
it.
it's
but-
good. We're doing really good. I'm about to text my mom right now.
Okay, that's right. She's
Awesome.
waiting. But Matt and I will also switch roles. Like when we were filming Wrath of Becky, I was 7.5 months pregnant
It's so mean.
and so grumpy, which is not my natural state of being.
Yeah.
So he was thrown off a little bit. And so he'd have to like sit me down and be like, what is going on? I'd be like, what do you mean what's going on? Look at me, man. I'm fucking here. And it's hot and it's New Jersey.
Yeah.
And
You guys, she was so mean.
that's not, I mean,
So, like in her mind, it's probably like you should understand, you should like know what I'm,
exactly.
and like in our minds, it's like I have no idea. Like, what's up with
Yeah.
her today? Did something go wrong? Did I
So
say
he
I
was
know.
like literally tiptoeing behind me, like, okay, just don't make a sound.
I was doing my best to tap into my empathy.
But-
it's scary.
Yeah, I had to. We got home, and I was at that point like 8.5 months pregnant. And when you're that pregnant, you're just like flat all the time. And I was just like, you can't sleep. And so I was just like on a Sandra Bullock kick, and like just watching. And then I got onto like Anne Hathaway, and I'm watching The Devil Wears Prada, and I'm like sitting there like totally relating to Meryl Streep in this movie. Like she has the hardest job. Everyone's asking questions of her, and she needs to like make the right decision at the drop of a hat. And then I was like, wait a minute, I need to apologize to like the entire crew, because mainly our DP and our producers and our first AD, and then Matt, because I was like, I'm literally relating to the devil in The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, man.
Your listeners are going to be like, I thought this was a horror podcast.
Sorry,
And we're
sorry.
spending-
no, trust me, they're used to it.
No,
we're
it's-
They are
spending
used
a
to
lot of
that.
time talking about rom-coms.
And their relationship, like these people we don't know.
I mean, trust me, this is
They
kind
love
of
it all.
norm for here. So my embarrassing admission today is I didn't know until about 2 hours ago that this was a sequel.
Oh,
So
good.
I love it.
I actually didn't realize it until I was prepping for meeting you guys, and Brandon and I were throwing out some ideas, and I noticed that one of the things that he mentioned was that this was a sequel. So I was like, holy shit. So I watched this as a standalone film, and I had a great time.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so I just wanted to tell you guys that I wasn't sure. I didn't honestly know if I was going to tell you. I was kind of embarrassed, but since you guys said embarrassing things, I guess I would.
No,
like
thank
all
you.
we do is
Now-
exist in embarrassing anecdotes.
Now Brandon's up.
Yeah, what's
we need an embarrassing story. But first, Dave, that is, look, if it worked as a standalone,
we did our job.
then we did our job. We wanted to make something that we could invite a new audience into, and hopefully they go home and watch the first Becky, and then for Becky 3.
The only thing I will share, the only thought I had that like kind of makes sense now is, where did all this flashback footage come from? Like, it's like random scenes though. It's like, it's not like a full scene of a flashback. It's like a lot of like glimpses, and I was like, okay, all right, something else happened. But I mean, I was able to put the story together regardless. So
fantastic.
It worked.
Great.
Yeah. And that's one thing too, because this movie, I love how you guys featured like a lot of comedic moments in it. And like true horror fans love sequels that have like, that you can have fun and like there's funny things. Was that done on purpose?
Yes,
Absolutely.
When we were asked to do the sequel, we were like, there's some things you have to carry over, right? Like the dog in the first one, fan favorite. We had to bring him back. The key, and obviously Becky, she needs to be in it. But in terms of what, those are the only parameters. Like have Becky, have the key from the first,
and blood.
Then we said, okay, we want the dog, but we want to change the tone. So Becky in the first one's 13. She's 16 in the next one. In ours, I mean, 3 years from 13 to 16, that's like a lifetime for a teenager. Like you're a different person. And so we wanted to up the ante a bit. The first one is very handheld and grungy. The second one, we want it to be sleeker. She's in a jumpsuit, make it
She's
comic
sleeker.
booky.
You know,
she's
like
sleeker.
go to her in the first film and she's being hunted. In this film, we were like, she's hunting them.
Yeah.
She's gonna go to the
She's got her.
You know, she's sleek, but like you can tell she still has room for growth. So like
she's still
like I got the
like,
sense she's like at her like very early stage of being sleek is how I was like envisioning her.
Fantastic.
Good
because
I mean,
like she's not an assassin yet. Like she is in some ways, but like she's still 16. So that was very important to us.
We really, I have to be honest, I'm starting to forget like if we've said things here that we've said in other
That's
interviews.
concerning.
I know.
Okay.
I think it's coffee. Have I spoken to like see our favorite sequels? Have I done that?
No.
Good.
Please do.
So a big thing for us was the first thing we did was we started going, okay, we have the challenge of making a sequel to a film we had nothing to do with. And we jumped straight into James Cameron's sequels, where you look at Terminator 2, you look at Aliens, like you look at these films, and amongst others, I use him as an example, but you look at these films where someone comes in and you are evolving a character, you're telling the story of the new version of a familiar character, right? Yeah. So if your audience is coming back from number one, they know this character, but this is a different person. They've gone through different things and people change, especially over the course of years. So it's like, you need to start over. So we looked at sequels that are favorite sequels, that are the best sequels, and we looked at what they did right. And what they all did correctly is they start a story over. You lay a new foundation because this is a new story. You're not just continuing the moment the last one picked up. You're not picking up where the last one left off, and etc. And then we looked at sequels that we don't feel did it correctly, which another way of saying that is incorrectly. Yeah. In case you don't know, listeners, we looked at films that we felt did it incorrectly and that we didn't love, and we went, okay, like what do those films do that bumps for us? And so I think a big part for us was creating a film where you're introducing a new visual style, and you're introducing an evolved version of a familiar character, and you're introducing more, right? You're
Yeah.
doing more, but with, in this case, less.
Yeah, we had half the budget from the first Becky.
Yeah, and so we really just wanted to like evolve these characters, the only carryover being Becky, but like evolve the genre.
And Diego.
We
Yep.
wanted to
Come on.
really inject it with new energy so that you go, oh, okay, it is a standalone film, and wow, that was very different from the first film. And a big part of that was going, all right, how would we approach the Wrath of Becky? We're big fans of, I've already name dropped this, but we're big fans of like the energy behind Edgar Wright films, Tarantino films, Guy Ritchie films. You know, we looked at a film like Kick-Ass and we talked about Mark Miller, and you sit there and you go, those films do things that are the epitome of crowd pleasing.
Mhm.
Yeah, the camera is a character. The camera has energy, and that's what our DP Julia Swain is just like. Ugh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna laugh. And like, there's two moments. Like, you should feel so jazzed watching this movie that you're cheering.
Yeah.
The theaters I've been in, people do cheer because it's satisfying watching these men die. And there's two moments where we break the fourth wall, where Becky looks at the camera, and that was not, those moments are not written on page. They like truly came out of the energy that we were feeling behind the camera when we're shooting it. And we were like, let's just do one where she looks at the camera. Because when you're thinking about the cut and you're thinking about the score coming in, and especially on, I mean, in every film, budget or not, you're like, you've storyboarded, you've shot listed the shit out of it. And so you know the cut in your head, you know, she's just, you know, she's standing over this grave, she's going to seek revenge. Oh, it would be a good moment for her to look at the camera.
Yeah.
And that's the energy that we wanted to bring to Becky.
Yeah.
It was a different energy from Becky one.
Yeah. So like Dave said, he didn't see the first film. I've seen the second one. And I have to say, you guys definitely took the character of Becky to the next level, and just like seeing her become more of a badass and everything like that. It was really cool. So like, how was it working with Lulu Wilson that just returned for this film? Like, how was it able to like see her like make so much progress from the first film to this one?
Awful. Sorry.
You need to just,
I know, I'm done.
No more.
Lulu Wilson is
Becky.
best.
She's the best.
Yeah.
She's such a professional. She is so fun. She shows up and gives every ounce of herself to everything she does, but because I've seen her on different sets, but and we know people who've worked with her on different projects, but having experienced it firsthand with Wrath of Becky, I don't think I've ever had so much fun working with someone. I mean, she just shows up to play, and she plays, man. It was such a joy.
And she's going to be a movie star.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, she already
she
is
a
like,
movie
I mean,
star.
look at her. She's Becky of a Becky franchise, but she is going to continue to just climb in this business because she has such a great attitude and she's so good at what she does. And you truly go, okay, we worked with her quite a bit in the development process. And by development, I mean like a day of breaking this and pitching her kind of an idea. And then 3 weeks we had to write the script. So you work with her enough though, and converse with her, and then go sit with her after the first draft, and she's given it a read, and you talk about kind of any changes she wants to make. So we had that opportunity in the prep stage of things. So by the time we got on set, it was like, we really just got to let her go do her thing, because she knows what she's doing, and she knows who Becky is. She's 17 now, and she was first approached with the character of Becky when she was 11 years old. So
That's
crazy.
She like gets Becky.
But also like this film was so hard to shoot. Like she's a minor, so you have minor hours, you have a dog, you have blood, you have special effects makeups, you have stunts. You pretty much have like one opportunity to shoot like one take of everything. And you know, they're like, never work with children. Lulu's not a child by any means, but like the way we have a lot of crash zooms, we have a lot of, you know, like the Edgar Wright style, where the editing is very specific. So a lot of like 1, 2, 3 hit, 1, 2, 3, a lot of rhythm with the camera and the focus and our action. And she would just nail it, where we'd be like, oh, thank God. I mean, the movie literally probably would not exist if she wasn't so good.
And she's total smartass. So
Yeah,
had a lot of fun
so,
on set.
and like, we're not, obviously.
If you
so,
can't tell.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Well,
So I mean, me personally, when I saw this, I was also super excited about seeing Sean William Scott on the roster there. This was such a departure from what we all know him as, like as Stifler.
mhm.
So seeing, but like he nailed this role in my opinion. Like I thought he was great. It felt super effortless with him, and I was wondering if like he needed a lot of direction to get himself in his character, or if he just came in and portrayed it the way that it felt to me, at least.
The thing that was really fun about, that's an understatement, but the thing that was very fun about working with Sean William Scott in this project is from the first meeting we had with him, he had so many ideas for the character. He knew what he wanted to wear. He knew how clean cut he wanted him. He knew he wanted to bring the military background in. He knew that what was a third of a page monologue, he wanted to be a 2-page monologue that presented not only his backstory, but in a very manipulative, understated way, told us just how dangerous he is.
Yeah.
And the threat that he poses.
Not very, yeah, he was understated. Not what he's saying is understated.
No. Yeah. And every day that Sean William Scott was on set, it was like the night before he would call and we would talk through the scenes. And I wrote this script, like we broke story together, but I wrote it. And so I would go do revisions on the pages based on not Sean William Scott saying, I want this different, but like collaborative conversations with an actor who cared so much.
Mhm.
It was an honor to stay up after production that day and get to do like revisions to make that character stronger for the next day's scenes.
Awesome.
And what we always point out when we talk about his performance in this film is we had a very, as we've said, like we had a very specific tone we were going for in this movie. And you can't accomplish that tone successfully unless you have an antagonist that is very grounded in their performance. And it could have been
So cartoony.
so
and
caricaturish, but the danger and the humanity and the understated just kind of danger behind his eyes that he brings to the role of Daryl Jr. is what allows us as filmmakers to accomplish the tone we wanted to accomplish in the broad areas of the script, where you then get to take all the characters around him and all the extravagant, ridiculous deaths and get laughs out of them and get crowd-pleasing cheers and all that fun because you've towed the line. Otherwise, it's just very two-dimensional. And Sean William Scott,
it could be very, very campy. And there's intentional camp.
yeah,
But you don't want it to just, you still want it
you don't want to, you want to
It's
know what you're
scary.
doing and have people say you executed that perfectly, you towed that line, not, yeah, it's stupid, but yeah, it's fun. And what Sean William Scott gave us was the freedom as filmmakers to play in that playground, because without his performance, I think we would have had a much greater challenge.
two-dimensional is the right term.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely had a blast with this film. Brandon and I were kind of talking about that before you guys hopped on. Just like this was an enjoyable one, and I'm not a super action type movie guy. Like that's not necessarily my genre, but like I liked that it just was what it was. It didn't try to be something else. It just was very much what it was. The characters, you didn't try to like tug on the heartstrings. Like there was a brief moment where I was like, is it going to go that direction? But no, then it went back to what it was supposed to be. And it was a lot of fun. So, thank you guys for taking this time with us and, sharing about the development of the film. I think people are going to have a great time with this.
Yes, go see it in theaters.
Yeah. Spread the word.
Do you guys want to share where people can find you and just kind of be able to follow you and everything else that you guys have coming down the road for us?
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Suzanne Coote.
If anyone sucks more at social media than Suzanne, it's me.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram.
Pretty bad.
I'm on Instagram at Matt Angel, or is it Maddie?
I don't know.
I think it's Matt Angel.
Let's try both.
Try both.
Maddie with an IE. Yeah, you'll find me.
Yeah.
But
You're
yeah,
also on Twitter.
Oh, I'm on Twitter. That's right, Matt Angel 23.
You remember that one, so you must do a little bit more Twitter action.
I honestly, I just picked up the reins again on social media. I took 4 years off. So
That's good.
which was great, and I regret ever getting back on, but it's great to get to like talk to people and see how fans are responding to things. It was not so great after Open House because I think it's one of the most hated movies of all time. But that's okay. We'll talk about that next year. Or
part two.
Part two with Dave and Brandon. No, so I'm back on social media, and yeah, hit us up.
Awesome.
Hit us up.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You so
Everybody in theaters, May 26th, The Wrath of Becky. Check it out. Thank you guys so much. And
Thank you.
everybody have a great night.